So if you've looked into rooting cuttings, I'm sure you've seen a lot of sophisticated setups and different ways that you can take small branches from an existing bush or an existing tree and put them in some sort of medium and get roots to grow. And I'm sure that some of those methods are great for large-scale operations, but what would be the most effective for me? You know, should I go invest in some sort of a misting system that goes on all these fresh green cuttings, or should I go for hardwood cuttings that I don't have to baby as much? So today I just want to show you where I've had the most success. I found the more I try and micromanage a system, the worse I do. So this is the least micromanaging system you can do. The least input that you'll ever be required to do rooting cuttings, and I found that it works really well. I had to dig out along here because the dirt was already pushing up against the side of the shed and rotting it out. And as I was doing that, I was thinking, what else could I do here? You know, should I plant some flowers or something? And then it dawned on me I could make a propagation spot here where I put cuttings. So I went to the kids' sandbox, dug out some of the old play sand that's sat for so many years that it needs replaced, and over time has had leaves decompose in it and different things like that. So just old play sand, and I added in a tiny bit of peat moss just because I had it around. But that would be a good well draining medium. And then this area is not shaded in the mornings, but it is shaded throughout the day. There's a tulip tree here, and then we've got this. Actually, when the sun passes midday, then the shade comes in here from this barn itself. But those plants will be able to pull in what they need from some direct sunlight in the morning, and then from indirect light throughout the day. So all I do here is I've got that medium, like I've said, with the sand and a little bit of peat moss, and then all I do is put this tub on top. So I stuck some more in here this year, and all I've got is some peaches and some cherry, and I just put in some apple this morning. And all I do is snip the ends off of those and put them in. You can use rooting hormone, debatable on how much help that gives. I have done that in the past, but I haven't done enough trials to say that it's warranted to do that. With this system, you may not get roots quite as fast, but what happens is that you don't have to worry about getting too much or too little moisture. If you're in a dry spell, you can come out and you can just hose the whole area off to put in moisture. But other than doing that a few times last year when we went about a month without rain, I really didn't touch this system at all. I really didn't even think about it. And that for me is critical because I often don't think about something like that till it's too late. So all I do is put this tub on top of here, and then this tub blocks some of that light, basically greenhouses this, and that helps hold in that humidity. And this being tied into the main ground here, I mean, it helps with that interplay and not getting too much moisture. And this is not an area that pools up water when the rains come, so it gets rain, but it doesn't just saturate the ground and run out those cuttings. So let's take a look. I've got some figs here that I rooted last year and some peaches as well. I want to dig those out from the leaves that I buried them under, and we'll just take a look at how well those did and see if they're waking up. All right, so here are the Lavelle peach rootstocks that I put in, and I can see that they have some growth here on the tips. Those probably were buried a little bit too long, probably should have uncovered those already, but we'll see how these wake up. And over here we've got the figs, and I can tell they had a little bit of a dieback here on the very top of these, but overall they look okay. So we'll see how these push out. These are ones that usually do die back in the winter in this zone. I'm in zone 5B here. And the last thing I had were some hardy kiwi. This is the male one here, and then I have two female, I believe, here. So these are ones that I'm going to want to transplant out. Hopefully they adjust here to sunlight pretty well. They look fairly light colored here. Since I've got other projects to work on today, figured I'd just cover it in shade cloth and we'd pot these up or transplant them on another day. Alright, so we're about to get some cold weather here. Might get down to something like 26, 28. So I want to go ahead and get this all potted up and show you how some of these did. I'm going to put these in pots, put them in the garage, and that way I don't have to worry about them freezing or getting damage from this freeze. and then here in maybe a week or two, we'll get them planted outside wherever we want them to stay. Right here, I've got some hardy kiwi. I've got some figs over here, and then there are peaches in the back. And we'll start with this kiwi here. It does seem these roots go down really deep though. Kind of shows how well they rooted. All right, well, I'll say that's a success there. It's definitely a good root ball in there. And all I did was put the tip of the cutting in that rooting hormone and set it in there, put that tub over it, and that's about all I ever did, but water it maybe twice. Not looking for these to be the permanent pots, just a temporary solution. Make sure it gets through this cold, and we'll get this planted out. These ones are a little closer to the figs, so I don't want to go around that side if I can help it. It's an advantage of this rooting medium though, is it's pretty good about letting these out. Again, another good amount of growth here. Certainly hard to argue with these results. And we'll get the final one here, just a little one. But maybe not so little underneath. Oh, little underneath. But still something to it. Still got some of these little ones here. So there's the kiwi done. I did have one fig that failed, but these other 4 here did just fine. And I'll show you some of those roots here. They all looked about the same as they do now last year, so it's really that root growth that's the difference now. So here's the roots on this one here. Nice and deep. Just getting them in here just for a few days till I can transplant them or put them in a bigger pot. Second one here, its roots. It's got buds on it as well. Next one here, looking good. And this one did really well right here. Just got a few buds coming in on it. Oh, and 1/5 fig here that also worked. Also quite well. You see all that root growth on there. And then the peaches seemed to do really well. I had to get my shovel out because they'd made such deep roots. Some of them quite lengthy here. But these all did quite well also. I may use these as some grafting material here soon, or I may go ahead and let these grow a little bit more before I do that, or just use them for stooling and try and make some additional rootstock that way. But these definitely succeeded, pushed out lots of growth. In fact, I'd probably only do half a season the way I do this out here, because getting those roots out was kind of a mess. So when they get as deep as this has, it gets a bit harder to get out. So unless you plan to leave it there, you might want to get it out. All right, well, I hope I've persuaded you that you do not need to go buy a huge misting system or some other overly complex system. As long as you have a good draining medium and you've got a way to hold in humidity without overdoing that, you're going to be able to root stuff just fine. I'm pretty excited to be able to store these away at the garage for a few days, and when it's safe, bring them out, get them planted where I want to keep them, and hopefully get some fruit soon. So, thanks for watching.